Hello, everybody. And welcome back to week 2 of Management 2100. And like I said earlier in the week, I wanted to put together just a short little video kind of highlighting two important concepts that we covered in the chapter this week. Kind of easy to look over, but two things that we talked about was one, the general environment, and that's the political, technological, legal, environmental forces that our business operates in, and then also the task environment. That was the distributors, consumers, suppliers, and other competitors that occupy the industry that our business sits in. Okay? Easy to overlook, but these concepts can have a profound effect on how we operate a business and our ability to successfully operate a business. Okay? So for example, in the general environment, one thing that we look at as managers is changes in fuel price, right? An example of a company that is very profoundly affected by changes in fuel price would be like Southwest Airlines. Okay? So an airline company, a huge portion of their cost position, right, is determined by the price of jet fuel or the price of crude oil. Okay, so if you are an airline, how do you defend? Okay, how do you protect yourself against changes in jet fuel prices? Well, for example, Southwest, very famously, has hedged quite a bit of their fuel prices, with against changes in future demand. Okay, so we can see that down there in the fourth quarter of 2007, up to 90%, right, of their fuel prices were hedged, at a very favorable rate, price cap of $51 per barrel here, as compared to their competitors. Now this has allowed them, for several years, to enjoy cheaper fuel prices than their competitors. It's given them what we call a competitive advantage, right? And they've been able to capitalize upon that by instituting things like, bags fly free or whatnot, right? So monitoring a significant change in the external environment has proven to be absolutely quite profitable for them. Well, for the most part. The last couple of years, it hasn't worked out for them so well. They've actually lost several $1 million on their fuel hedging, but in all, it's been quite good for their operations. Right. Another example, that I wanted to bring up for you guys here. If anybody has ever heard of Gallo Wineries, or if they enjoy wine or something like that, there is a kind of an interesting case study, that occurred back in circa 2003, 2004, kind of the 2005 era there, right, where an Australian winery, called Gallo Wines, took advantage of a very unfavorable task environment and were able to manipulate that to great success. So we know from the chapter what the task environment constitutes. So we're looking at our distributors, our competitors, our suppliers, and then our customers here. Well, we don't really have to worry too much about suppliers when we're a winery because we're basically growing our own supply. We're growing our own commodities here. So we don't have suppliers to contend with. But the other aspects of the task environment, can prove to be very unfavorable for us. All right, so circa 2003, right, we have Gallo Wineries. They make Yellowtail. If anybody's ever enjoyed Yellowtail, pretty middling price bottle of wine here. We're looking at about $8.99 or something like that, or maybe even cheaper, depending on where you go. They're operating at this point exclusively within Australia, and they want to bust into the U.S. market. So how do they go about doing that? Right? How do they gain access to this kind of lucrative American market? Right? Well, not as easily said, or it's not as easily done as said here. So the way that liquor laws are set up in the United States is that here we have for foreign imports for liquor and spirits or wine or anything else or beer. You have a supplier. But in the United States, you have to sell to a third-party distributor Okay? And then in turn, okay, that distributor is what controls which products go out to the retailers. Right? So obviously in this relationship, the distributors are going to have a huge amount of power because this wine distributor, they're going to want popular wines that are already well known, that are already selling. Okay? They don't want to take the risk of a new product, things like that, because they're getting paid, okay, by each crate or each shipment that they're making to this particular retailer over here. Okay? So Gallo Wineries in this instance has to contend with this huge barrier, okay, within the task environment. Okay? But not only that, not only the distributors, okay, but they also have to deal with competition. Okay, so this is a heat map here of the various wineries in the United States. Okay, so we can see obviously the California wine region. Okay, very popular. The wine region up in Washington, which is gaining some fame here, up in the Northeast, New England, across the Midwest. Okay, right around where I'm at right now in St. Louis. Okay, good concentration of wineries. All right, so this just goes to show that there is a huge amount of competition that a foreign producer would have to contend with in order to gain access to the domestic market. Not only that, okay, but also substitute products. Okay, people, don't just drink wine; they drink beer. They have options of other alcoholic beverages and things like that. So, in this particular instance, okay, the competitive aspect of the task environment is incredibly unfavorable. Okay. Another thing that we would look at is the actual customers themselves. And like I said before, okay, the actual preferences of the consumer, the average consumer in the United States, it doesn't really trend too strongly towards wine. Okay, so we see here, this is a poll done by Gallup. And we're looking at this point in time right about here, right when Gallo is trying to enter into the United States. So 44% of people, of those that drink alcohol, drink beer. 30% drink wine, 22% drink some sort of spirits or liquor or something like that. Actually, if we extended this graph out to 2017 with this whole kind of craft beer renaissance, I would assume probably this beer line would be quite a bit higher or something like that. Okay, so four aspects of the task environment. Okay, we have consumers that don't have a strong preference for our product. We have a competitive landscape that is highly concentrated, highly concentrated, just replete with other producers, and then we have distributors that hold a lot of power on our ability to get the product onto the shelf. Okay, so if we are Yellowtail, okay, how do we overcome these forces, okay, and get our product into the domestic market? Okay. Well, Yellowtail actually did something rather interesting with their marketing campaign. Okay, so if you've ever drank wine, okay, or have ever tried to buy a bottle of wine, and you're this neophyte, you don't really know what makes a good wine or how to buy a particular bottle of wine, it can be scary. Okay, it can be off-putting. It could be difficult to choose, and that's kind of what they found with their market research, is that maybe some people wanted to try wine, but they just didn't know how, or wine wasn't considered, kind of an everyday thing. It was, something that you would buy on Valentine's Day and have for a fancy dinner or something like that. Okay, so Yellowtail went on this strategic campaign in order to rebrand themselves. Okay, change the image of their product, okay, in order to attract new consumers. Okay, so we can see that from this video example here from YouTube.
This is a kangaroo. If you see a road at a party, it's a good party. Because at Yellowtail, we believe in fun. We believe if your wine needs to breathe, you should take it outside for some fresh air. We believe in Ellie Gonzalez. Hi.
Hey.
Want to pet my Roo?
Sure, I'll pet your Roo.
And finally, we believe in this! That's Yellowtail!
Great, so what we've seen in this video is a lot of imagery that we don't normally associate with wine here. I mean, we have wine being enjoyed on the beach, wine being enjoyed at a backyard barbecue, being enjoyed at a party, things like that. So Yellowtail and Gallo Wineries really just went on this campaign to re-educate the consumer with regards to where it's acceptable to have wine. Okay, they started to treat wine as kind of like this fun, everyday beverage, right? Which is a strategy that these other companies didn't employ. All right, so the solution to overcome these forces in the task environment that Gallo Winery used wasn't to, keep going after this same sliver of consumers that every other winery was competing for. Okay? Instead, they were expanding the pie. They were attracting new people that had not drank wine before. Okay? So consumers that were out of reach of these other competitors. Okay, so they altered the force of the task environment with relation to the consumers and competitors, and then obviously once their beverage became popular, the distributors started to carry their product more. Okay, and then what we see with relation to wine consumption is that actually right around here, wine at one point back in late 2005, 2006, it actually overtook beer as one of the more popular beverages in the United States. Okay, and right about this time, so Gallo Wineries enters into the market right about here. Okay, and here they are the number 1 selling wine in the United States. Okay, so kind of an interesting little story, okay? A nice little case study about the forces of the task environment and how it can alter our strategy as an organization. Okay, so it's something to think about. It's something to think about as you move forward in your managing your own business, okay, or start studying strategic management or pursuing your MBA. Okay, thinking about how the forces of the task environment can affect how we manage, okay, and ways that we can overcome them. All right. Well, hopefully that was kind of interesting. And I will see you guys next week.